We've got just a little over 3 weeks until tax day. There's still time to potentially save money before you file. Who doesn't love hearing that? On this Money Saving Monday, Nayan Ranchad with Silver Lining Wealth Advisors. He joins us live with some of the moves that you can still make. It's not too late, right, Nayan?
No, absolutely not.
Yes.
No, I mean, we've got a little bit more than, a couple of weeks left before we've got tax day.
Right.
And there's still some moves that you can make to make sure that you reduce some of the overall tax impact that could negatively impact you.
Okay, help us out. What are you talking? What do you think?
To start with, right, one of the things that I think people can always start with is always putting in money into retirement funds, right? So whether you're able to put money into your traditional IRA for last year because you didn't fund it for last year, or even a spousal IRA, that's something that you could take a look at doing.
That's fantastic. Okay, what are some other really important things? You talk about contributions to IRAs or HSAs before the deadline. What does that do for me?
Yeah, so what that does is it takes money and it puts it into that account pre-tax, right? So then when you go to file your taxes, what ends up happening is you get to reduce your income by that dollar amount. So it helps with that tax impact being a little bit lower.
Are there deductions or credits that you think that most people just miss or don't even look into?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always say double check your deductions and your credits at all times, right? So there's some charitable contributions that you can make before tax filing day to help with, whether it's education savings accounts or even some of those qualified business owner deductions. Those are some of the things that we would take a look at doing and making sure that you're maximizing all of those opportunities within your tax return.
Which is really tricky because I feel like sometimes you don't even know where to start. You don't even know that you could get some of these deductions. So where is a good place to start to get those questions answered?
I always start with the professionals, right? Okay. So whether it's a CPA, an enrolled agent, or a tax accountant, also take a look at the IRS website. They've got some really good information that's there. I myself don't prepare taxes, but I know that many of people do, whether they're doing them themselves or even just using the website at the IRS website.
What are some of the biggest mistakes that people make where they could really keep some of their money in their wallet?
Yeah, they just don't ask.
Yeah, exactly. Because it gets too complicated sometimes. We have so much going on, but you're right. They just don't ask.
Absolutely. I mean, it's that idea of being afraid to ask or not knowing what to ask. Sometimes just fall forward. That's the biggest thing I tell people is always just ask the question. Don't worry about what people think. Just ask the questions and let's see if it works.
Some people think, okay, do I want to hire someone to do this? Because then am I not even going to be making that much money? But is it worth the money spent on hiring someone to help you out?
Yeah, I think if you've got a little bit of a complicated tax situation, I think it always makes sense, right? Sometimes if you're just a W-2 and your standard deduction, it doesn't really make sense. But if you've got children or if you've got a business or anything like that, I always think it's a good idea to double check.
There's a lot of questions on whether or not I should file now or if I should file an extension.
Yeah.
What say you?
I think it depends on your own personal situation. Even though you file an extension, sometimes what happens is you still owe, if you owe money, by the 15th, right? So you got to make sure that you're double checking the numbers, you prepay, so that even if you're going to file the extension, you don't get caught owing and then owing penalties on the back end of it.
That's a really good point because people think, oh, it's extending, so I don't need to pay. But no, you do still need to pay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, are there any other quick moves people can make these final weeks?
Yeah, final weeks. Like I said, I think we've covered most of them from the aspect of, funding your HSA, right? If you've got medical bills for last year, you can fund it for last year, put that in there. I think the retirement piece is really big, especially with everything that's going on. And then also, the education piece and then any kind of charitable contributions if you're philanthropically inclined.
Nan, thank you so much. Where can people contact you if they're interested in learning more?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're at silverliningwealth.com. So if you just type in that on your URL, you'll be able to find us there.
All right, Nan, thank you so much for your time.